kind of talk through these first slides. It's, as I say, quite short. I'm going to record the session so it's available at a later date. And it's not a very technical webinar. It's just a taster, a simplistic way to get started, and kind of how you can add this to your portfolio, etc. Rightio, so here we go. So this is me. This is a slightly thinner me pre-COVID times. Hopefully thin Craig's going to make a comeback, but I'm not sure how long that's going to take. We're obviously using, oh, let me just pop back a second, sorry. So in regards to me being sales director of 2100 Group, 2100 Group is actually the group that owns ProView and Alliot. So both channel first businesses that specialize in being value-added distributors with bespoke deployment services. So really focused on the channel part of it, obviously, which we hope works for you guys. So we're using GoToWebinar software. So hopefully you can see my screen at the moment. Love to hear some questions. So the more you ask, the more I learn about what you guys want within the industry. And obviously I'll get back to you with the answers. And IoT is quite strange at the moment, with lots of people having differing views on exactly what it is. And really all I want to do today is hopefully help you work out what it might be for you. So hopefully you can see the slide, and there's a little speech bubble. If you click on that and then type your questions in the message box, a few people have already done that, so I can get back to you guys as and when the time allows. So what is IoT? The Internet of Things describes a network of physical objects, so they call them things. They're embedded with sensors or software and other technologies for the purpose of connecting and exchanging data with other devices and systems over the internet. So that's the actual definition that I've come across. And all it is stuff talking to other stuff so that you can make decisions based on the information that it's given you, or even automate decisions based on the information that it's giving you. The purpose of this slide is lots of people see IoT as purely connectivity, and there's a lot of money to be made in the connectivity piece, but actually there's a lot of money to be made throughout the entire projects, and I'll go into that a little bit later. In regards to the growth of this industry, as you can see at the bottom, with more than 10 billion connected IoT devices today, experts are saying that this is going to grow to around 22 billion by 2025. So exponential growth is effectively coming. So what and why LoRa or LoRaWAN? So these are probably not in the best order, but I'll tackle the middle part first. So the name LoRa comes from long range, so it keeps it quite simple. LoRa is a proprietary low power modulation technique, and what that does is it's a simple way to give long range, low power. So it will last a long time, and the range is excellent. Okay, so how long's the range? Urban times, you're looking at about 2 kilometers to 3 kilometers. Rural is about 5 kilometers to 7 kilometers. And the length of time you'll expect a sensor to last, and it uses something like a watch battery or AA batteries in the sensors, is around 5 years. So actually you've got quite a long time for what is a very low cost sensor. Okay, what do you need? The hardest thing is really the idea. Actually, everything else is rather easy. So obviously you need the idea, you need a sensor, a gateway, a LoRa network server, a visualization kind of piece of software or a dashboard maybe, don't actually have to need that, or an out-of-the-box solution. But the way that it works is you have your idea, be it whatever it is, and we'll come on to some ideas and case studies in a short moment of time. But the sensor will record the data, be it temperature, humidity, leak detection. That will then send the data to a gateway, and it will send that by 868 megahertz frequency, just a free radio frequency. The gateway will take that frequency and pass that to a LoRa network server. The LoRa network server will aggregate all of the different information that it's received, and then that will decode those payloads so that it actually makes sense, and then it can send it to wherever you want. Now, most people would choose a visualization piece of software or a dashboard. But equally, if you've got your own kind of APIs directly out of that network server, you can actually get it to be sent or even make assumptions and decisions based on the information that it's given. So that's pretty much it. In regards to what we've done previously, we've done a few things actually. We've been involved in quite a lot of projects, so it's been quite successful for us. We've completed quite a few case studies, and they're all available on our website. So just some that we've come through, and I'll flick through a couple of the case studies that we've done. So student accommodation, in student accom, one of the ideas was to monitor presence. So when people are not in the accommodation, not staying there, for instance, when COVID hit, they knew they was going to have lots and lots of empty places where students would normally live. So monitoring presence, humidity and temperature. And the reason for humidity was to make sure that damp never incurred, and therefore protecting the asset, which was obviously the place where they lived, from other kind of issues that might arise. And what would happen is if there was presence in there when there shouldn't be, it would be alerted either via text message, email, however somebody wants to receive that, and then they could attend when they're ready. Equally, if the humidity was reached a certain level, they would be alerted and actually could attend the property just to make sure that damp wasn't setting in. Temperature, for instance, if something was left on, okay, we could turn there and make sure that we're not wasting electricity, etc., or wasting the energy of heat. Retail sales, so showroom, this is one that's been quite interesting. So we've actually had people that wanted people counting for a number of different reasons. To see how kind of effective that space is. So as I want to rent an area, I want to use this particular, I want to rent it out, I want to use it, what's my footfall going to be? So we put some people counters in there to actually see how many people came. Also, again, kind of COVID times, we've been looking at what's the maximum capacity people can have in. So, okay, I've got a building that can take 250 people, and I don't really want to pay a bouncer on a door with a clicker. So what I'll do is to ensure my due diligence, I may have somebody on the door, but what it will do is as somebody walks in, it will count them in. As somebody walks out, it will count them out. And again, because you're looking across a piece of software rather than an individual, there can be multiple entrances and exits, and therefore at all times you can identify what capacity you have in the building. The other part was people counting for busy times. So how many people for a sales environment do I need to satisfy the current amount of people that I would expect to have in, say on a Tuesday at 11 a.m. And then there's the other part of sales opportunities. So, okay, I'm getting 50 people through the door, and yet my sales guys are saying that they've not got enough opportunity. And now I've actually got a great way of measuring what conversion rate the current crop of people I've got are getting. Then we've got kind of simple things like reduce the cost of the office, of which I've got lots of projects running at the moment. But also we've got a case study for that, which I'll flick into right now, maybe. So this is a case study for smart buildings reducing the carbon's emissions. So this is a customer of ours called Novacine, and what they was asked to do was to effectively just measure, reduce the energy spending on bills, cut carbon emissions, and provide a solution that could be remotely managed and monitored. The solution was simple, few sensors, so temperature and humidity, a current meter, and then the Wainsey Management Center. So this is not the out-of-the-box solution, but Novacine have their own platform. And what they did is they connected these simple sensors to talk to their Novacine platform to cut the energy. And if we quickly look at the results, with Alliot support, Novacine were able to create a reliable, cost-effective solution for its customer, which was up and running in just 2 days. Within 1 week of installing the solution, the data presented on Novacine's platform revealed that the constant temperature of the building was at least 19 degrees Celsius. This enabled the offsite team to identify that the boiler and heating system were working on a timer at night, which was set by the previous tenant. The offsite team had missed this, and their sporadic site visits were during the day when everything appeared to be turned off. Now, just as an example of something that we've learned from things like this, a large home boiler that uses around 21 kilowatts of energy per hour will actually generate about £800 of costs if it's used outside of working hours across a 17-day period. So later on, we'll talk about a kind of a proof of concept to play kit, which is sub £800. And actually, if you buy this kit and put it into an office just to see what would happen, if your boiler was running overnight and you wasn't aware, you would effectively recoup that money within just over 2 weeks. And that's just something that we learned almost by accident. So I'm just going to flick back to the slides. Cattle farming was interesting. So we've actually got a number of people that work within agriculture. And these particular guys was looking to make sure they had the water. Water's obviously a massive expense, but wanted to make sure that they could manage the water for their cattle to make sure they always had fresh water, etc. And a number of the problems that you have with cattle is if they drink water that's not clean, then obviously they get ill, and that affects actually the costs, etc. So again, I'll just flick quickly into the cattle farming. So this is our customer Smart Rural, a user-owned agriculturally focused cooperative applying smart city technology to rural applications. Again, some of the challenges that we come across quite often in places like this is there's obviously no Wi-Fi, there's very little connectivity. So you're kind of looking for what technologies that can I use that are going to be low cost, easy to install, but will actually deliver the solution. So I'm not looking to try and go over all of these case studies in any real detail. They're on the website, please have a read. So here there's an Arduino double level sensor, which obviously measures the water in effectively an area where they can drink. We've got a LoRaWAN gateway that we talked about earlier in kind of rural areas. We'll do 5 to 8 kilometers, so one of those. And then what we can actually do is, there are other things that we haven't done here in this particular scenario, but there's Strager water valve, LoRaWAN sensors, and obviously water valves that can actually identify that the well is empty, and actually we need to turn on the valve to allow water to get to this area so that the cattle can drink the water. And also in the cost of saving water, actually the area for drinking is full up and a certain level, maybe overflowing, maybe not that yet, and therefore we need to turn that Strager water valve off. So therefore you're kind of looking after both pieces, the health and well-being of the cattle and making sure that they're looked after in the way that they need to be, but equally not wasting a huge resource and a huge cost in that water. I've got another one here. So cold chain temperature management alert for chillers and freezers. And I think everybody will work out this is probably quite a large one if you look at all of the sandwich shops like Pret, etc. And then we even look at the large retailers, Morrison's, Tesco's, etc., as well as pretty much everywhere else. Temperature management is huge. So if there is some form of power cut, or if there is some form of kind of loss of connectivity, then actually nobody knows what's happened to that freezer. When you come back into the store in the morning, the power's been turned on, and actually that frozen stuff that had defrosted is now refroze, and the people going in to do their checks, etc., have no idea. Therefore, they're now selling products that are no good, contaminated, etc. So what this does is this is an awesome technology that actually sits aside from things like the standard connectivity and will measure in case of power cuts, etc., because we're looking at battery technology that will last around 5 years, etc. And then another interesting case study that we've done is a public restroom, which I'll pick that one up right now. Here we go. So again, quite interesting. So these monitor the occupancy levels within the kind of the public restroom areas. This measures for overspilling bins, and it's interesting. We're actually part of a tender in Wales, and we've already completed some tenders for local councils, where they're looking to measure the how much is in the bin, when they get full up, when they need to be emptied, and even outside of the bins when the bins are not full but people have just thrown rubbish on the floor, so they can actually better identify when they need to send out people to go and look for these types of things. We've got maintaining soap levels, dispensing, maintain comfortable conditions with temperature, humidity sensing, maintain, monitor energy consumption, look for water leaks, and then we've got even toilet occupancy and an emergency push button. So again, all of this is available just using LoRaWAN sensors. So now, again, obviously most people have got Wi-Fi, most people have got connectivity. So why use a different connectivity piece? We've mentioned a couple, but if we go through these here, so student accommodation. So why pay for a broadband connection when there's nobody in the property? Retail costs, a retail showroom. So that's just a cost. Actually, the cost of these products is incredibly low and quick to deploy. Reduce the costs of the office, again, costs. Cattle farming, I mentioned it earlier, lack of connectivity to try and get up point-to-point links and cover a wide area with radios is actually significantly more expensive than putting in as little as a $50 sensor. Cold chain, I mentioned this one as well. Loss of connectivity or power cut. Obviously, you know that there was a loss of connectivity. You don't know if it was a power cut. And then when you come back in, everything's refrozen or re-chilled. And then public restrooms. So again, lack of connectivity and ease of deployment. So now I'm just going to go on to what's included in what we've put together from a simplified IoT. And this is really just to make it easy. This is not what I expect you guys to be using or kind of installing, but you may well do. But this just kind of gives you an idea of what's included. So within this product that I'd encourage people to kind of have a look at, maybe purchase, maybe set up in your home office and see what you can do with it. Just as a taster, comes a gateway, a smart plug, which will measure the energy usage and can be remotely turned on and turned off, a door or window sensor, an occupancy sensor that also measures temperature, humidity, and a visualization dashboard. And it all comes ready, plug and play, provisioned out of the box, just ready for you to set up. I've got a very short video that shows that how within under 5 minutes everything can be deployed. And as I mentioned earlier, it actually costs less than a home boiler. It wasn't 17 nights, it's 10 nights. So costing less than a home boiler being left on for 10 nights. And that was based on a 25.5 kilowatt Ecotech boiler. So now I'm just going to flick over to a video and you'll see that this gets deployed within in less than 5 minutes. So this is literally how it turned up at my home. Obviously, I didn't need that. Unfortunately, you won't get the Alliot t-shirt. That just came because I needed some more Alliot t-shirts. And again, much the same as you probably experienced within our other brand ProView, everything will come with your dispatch paperwork, etc. So this is the multi-tech gateway. This is effectively a plug-in one. We've not got a cellular backhaul on this one, but they are available. This is the smart plug, and this is as easy as it is to set up. So plug it in. There's a button on top, which I'll push in a second, just to turn it on, and that effectively wakes up the sensor. This is the occupancy, humidity, and temperature. There's a couple of buttons on the side just to wake that up. And I've done some fantastic sellotape to hold that up.
I've now received this email. Welcome to Alliot, powered by my devices. And as you can see, there's a button to click get started, sample reports, etc. So I'm going to get started. The link has brought me to this screen. Obviously, I've just filled in my email address. Lots of you won't have a password. So obviously you just click forget password and then you can create your own. I'm now going to sign in. And as you can see, all three assets are connected. I've got some history in mine. So if we click through these, we can actually have a look at some of the charts that this has been giving over the time. So if you have a look down here, we can see a time frame that we can adjust by scrolling the mouse. And we can actually see what the temperature's been like in my home office. We also get the lux. We also get whether there's occupancy, detection, what the battery's like, and also what the signal strength is to the gateway that we unpacked earlier.
So just here, I'm actually recorded, and you'll see this is on from my mobile phone. I've received a text message because that's how I set it up.
I've now just moved the screen to another monitor so we can have a look at the smart plug. On the smart plug, we've got our average, max and minimum readings over a period of time. And as you can see, at certain times there's active energy being used. At the moment, obviously it's connected to the lamp. I've just turned the lamp on and there's the light going on. And now I've turned it off and there's the light going off. You can connect your smart plug to things like air conditioning or space heaters, any appliance that uses a lot of energy. You can connect multiple smart plugs to multiple devices, meaning that if at a later date when you're reviewing your energy consumption or your heating, you can work out that actually these things should be turned off, and remotely you can actually control the device.
So obviously I'm not very good at videos, and hence title comes up at the end. So I've kind of failed there. So I'm just going to flick back to screen one and flick through to here. So as you can see, that video took about 3 minutes 25. I sped up the part where I unbox things, but essentially that is a deployment in under 5 minutes. And it is as simple as that. So obviously what Alliot do is Alliot do all the provisioning, Alliot connect everything together. You would receive an email, access, so you can get access to the My Devices platform. You would then forget password, log in, and everything's connected to your instance as such. We've tried to keep it very simple. So a smart plug, very good for remote control, very good for monitoring the actual usage of electricity for devices, be it computers, even boilers or lamps, etc. Then we've got window and door alerters. Again, is somebody opening it? Has it been left open? So Brett's just asked a question, is there a mobile application for the dashboard? Yes, there is. So actually I've got it on my mobile phone as well. And quite regularly I've got it linked to my home office. And what I can see is when the kids are kind of opening the door and coming through to rummage with my stuff, or maybe my wife's kind of popped into the office, and then I can come back and try and find out what on earth is going on there. But I'll get those alerts, but equally I can remotely manage all of that, or even interrogate some of the readings that I get through the mobile device as well. That's pretty much just from the overview of the webinar and what I wanted to kind of go through today. I said I was going to take about 30 minutes of your time. I've taken about 12. Oh, sorry, I've got another one just quickly. So what integration options are there for automations based off the sensor events? So at the moment, I've got it integrated with Slack. There's an awful lot. There's what I'll do is I'll Robert and some others, I'll send you out the integrations or where you can link it into. Can I give an overview of LoRa security? Yes, but again, that'd probably be better to send off afterwards. What we do is every single sensor is sent out with a unique app EUI and app key. What we also use is we use a KMS system that we built ourselves, which is a key management system that actually even those keys are sent to you securely. Within the sensor, so I'll just talk a little bit about this. So within the sensor, if we take a temperature humidity sensor, for instance, that will have a unique app EUI and app key that only you will have. that will be linked to the gate. Well, that will be, the sensor will send out the signal to everybody. One gateway will recognize that that is the sensor that I should be listening to, and I will forward that data on to a network server. The network server will decode that payload and then will push it to you. But there is some other parts to that. But essentially what this sensor will be giving you is zeros and ones. The only real risk that we can foresee at the moment is a denial of service. But actually this should be using the LoRa module frequency and will be not sporadic, but set up for once an hour. It's not an urgent device. It's kind of, class it as a best effort, but the reality is it's probably a little bit better than that. But Mark, I'll get some information over to security for you and everybody else. Anthony, for student accommodation, oh, we've got flying in now. For student accommodation, how many sensors can one gateway handle? Good question. Gateways generally will do about 10,000 sensors, but really it's about the amount of messages that are sent through. Just got some more overs here. Can reporting be separated per site? Yes, it can. So actually, in what I've shown you today is a very simple setup, but there are options to have tenanted dashboards. We've just done a project with another customer, which is going to be a very large. It's actually for one of the largest, if not the largest, commercial landlord in Europe. And what they've requested is very similar. They're using clamps to monitor a lighting circuit. So rather than a plug, they're actually using a current clamps. They're measuring gas usage, electricity usage, water usage, some presence and some other pieces. They're also doing lots of air quality control, which is absolutely huge at the moment. And what they wanted was a dashboard that they could oversee and perhaps have full admin rights. But their customer could have tenanted rights to the rest of their customers, and then the individual people within the property could actually have access to their specific data, so therefore they can make the right decisions to reduce their utility costs. Does the gateway have mobile SIMs? Yes, it can. We actually offer SIMs as well, but that may be something that you have a direct agreement with the likes of kind of Vodafone, O2, and you can do those as well. Can the dashboard be white labeled? Yes, it can. That's, yeah, again, just another option. So there's loads and loads of questions coming, which is good. It means that hopefully people are quite engaged with this. So yeah, in most cases for this IoT projects and specifically LoRaWAN, most of the cases are yes. The answer is generally yes. As I mentioned earlier, the hardest piece in this is actually coming up with the idea. But once you guys have got the idea, then come to us and we'll either send out this exact kind of product that I've just demonstrated today for you to play with and have a look and show how easy it is. Alternatively, if you want to be a bit more specific, this kind of proof of concept that we've put together is really easy to change. So for instance, I've used a PIR, a window open and door closer and a smart plug. You could swap those out for leak detectors. If you're concerned about the amount of CO2 in a room, you can change it to CO2 sensors. But we would do all that for you, and it would be exactly the same when you receive it. So all you have to do is undo the box, secure the product to however you're going to do it, whether it's stuck on a wall and pull out the battery slip, or whether it's screwed via a plate, or whether it's plugged in. Push the button to wake it up, make sure the gateway's plugged in or on somewhere, and again within 2 to 3 kilometers in a kind of urban area, or within kind of 8 kilometers within a rural area, and log on to your dashboard, and everything's there done. So I've got quite a few more questions still coming in, so what I will do is I will go through these questions, and I will also get some answers out to everybody, so for all the questions that we've had, and we'll go from there. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. I've done my 30 minutes. I'm really keen not to take up loads of people's time, but I've got all the questions. Thank you very much, and we will be in touch. But if you want to talk before that, by all means, give the office a call. our website is www.alliot.co.uk. Thank you very much for joining us. Take care.